You are watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. Join the Business Heroine community today at businessheroinemagazine.com. And now, tune into the show.
Welcome, gorgeous heroines. I'm Ann Perry, founder of Business Heroine, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our beautiful, juicy, gorgeous, brilliant, inside and out cover girl, Nisha Moodley. Now, Nisha is a women's leadership coach and the creator of Fierce, Fabulous, Free, the Freedom Mastermind, and the Virtual Sisterhood. So Nisha is inspired by the belief that the world will be set free by women who are free, and that sisterhood is key to women's freedom. So Nisha creates communities of ambitious women to support them in redesigning their lives and their businesses. Nisha, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to jump into this conversation.
Oh, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, me too.
Thank you for this honor.
Absolutely. So I want to jump right into this juicy statement that I just shared, which is that you believe the world will be set free by women who are free. I love that. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so I, for my entire life, struggled with food addiction, emotional eating. I struggled with shopping addiction. And when I overcame those things, I started building this business where I was helping other women overcome emotional eating. And it was great. I really loved the work that I was doing with the women. It felt really meaningful. And I pretty quickly found myself as a complete workaholic. So I was working all the time, and I realized that I was actually working to avoid other things in my life that weren't working at the time. This was around 2009, 2010. My marriage was really struggling, really falling apart. And I was really just trying to keep my business together. And I remember hearing, was a really pivotal moment for me. I remember hearing a quote from the Dalai Lama. He said, "The world will be saved by the Western woman." And I was stoked because I'm a Western woman, and I was making my effort, doing my part to quote unquote save the world. I was doing this meaningful work, and yet I was on the verge of total burnout, and just kind of had this sense like, who is it going to be? Which ones will save the world? Which Western women? And I realized it wasn't going to be those of us who were standing on our soapbox and preaching a way of living and being. It was going to be those of us who were actually being the change. And so that's where the world will be set free by women who are free came from.
Oh, I love it. And I just want to point out to our heroines who are tuning in here that Nisha is in Paris right now. So,
yes.
celebrating your birthday.
Yes.
So, total embodiment of freedom in business. So, and then the second part of what you shared, though, is that the key to a woman's freedom is sisterhood. So that is really fascinating. And I would love to hear your own journey around that. You know, how did you discover sisterhood for yourself? And how did you discover that sisterhood is so powerful that it actually will set a woman free and in turn set the world free?
Yeah. So a couple of things were happening, while I was going through this reorganization of my business and realizing that I couldn't keep doing things the way that I had been doing them, where I was, getting up at 7 a.m. and working until 2 a.m. And that things had to shift in my business in order for it to actually be sustainable, to be happy and healthy and an embodiment of my message. So one thing is I realized I have to start doing my work for myself and looking at what is it that's going to create more freedom in my life? What are the conditions that are going to support that? And so I had to start really opening up and asking for support around my marriage, support around my business, support around the things that I was struggling with and dealing with in my life. And I had kept a lot of my struggles from my girlfriends because I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I didn't know what to do. I thought, let me just figure it out on my own, and then I'll kind of update them on the situation. And so I was in my personal life just getting this incredible, beautiful support and encouragement from the women in my life. And I was experiencing how just receiving that support and being in sisterhood with them was really expanding my sense of personal freedom. And then, and also started traveling with girlfriends and like doing just, amazing sort of extrinsic experiences of freedom, but with my girlfriends. So that was happening. And at the same time, I was scaling my business. So I was going from working with one-on-one clients and having a pretty full one-on-one client roster to doing group programs, leading retreats, and so forth. And what I saw time and again is that the women who I was working with in group programs or in retreats were getting such incredible results, like fast results and also deep results, sticky, like they were lasting. And I was really like wondering what was it that was creating that. And sure, part of it felt like, on a retreat, there's immersion. So we're together for this really intense period of time. But I thought there's more to it. And I sense that it's not just accountability. It's not just about, having people that they feel too embarrassed around to make a mistake so they stay on course. There's like something else going on here. And I realized what was happening naturally when women were circling together in these groups and on retreats is, we were talking about what was really going on in life. The shameful parts, the celebrations, all of it. And it was providing this space for these women to show up in the fullness of themselves in this safe, loving, supportive space. And that actually was what was helping to, create so much more firepower around their results in their inner world and in their outer world. So it just really was all gelling for me in my personal and professional life at that time, this connection between freedom and sisterhood.
I remember recently I saw something that you posted on Facebook, which was about sort of the evolution of sisterhood and how, we used to live in community together where we were with each other no matter what was going on, the ups and the downs and raising children, and we got to see the sloppy and the messy and the glory. And then at some point we became more separated in our lives, in our little container homes, and it became about putting your best face forward. But something that you shared really resonated with me because, a couple of months ago I was going through a really difficult time in the sense that I was stretching myself and I just had to muster all the courage I had. And what I noticed was that sisters came to my side, and it was amazing. And that really deepened my relationship with them, and it deepened my strength in myself. So I can completely resonate with what you're saying. It's like, and now those relationships are just this complete safe container where I actually can experience more creativity because there's no sort of guard that needs to be there or pretense. So yeah, I just wanted to reflect that back in my own experience. I can completely relate to what you're talking about.
Yeah. You've said it all. It's so right on. And it's just amazing what happens when we realize that even though what we're experiencing is unique to us and that we're experiencing it right now, the feelings that go along with our experiences, and often the experiences themselves, are not that unique. And there's so much that we can relate to with one another. So
yeah, absolutely. So what advice do you have? The business heroines love to connect in the Business Heroine Facebook group, for example. But I've talked with, some of my own clients and some women who have said, in my life, in my sort of real life, I'm surrounded by people who don't get it or get me. They don't kind of get that entrepreneurial person. And so how do you suggest going about creating or finding a sisterhood of women who actually get you where you are and can really hold you to your highest?
Yeah, I love that. I think that it's important for us to have, as much as possible, sort of three friend groups. One are the old friends. And I hear a lot of women say, well, my old friends don't really get me anymore, or, they're not on an entrepreneurial journey, so it's harder for us to understand one another, which I can really get. There was a time where I realized, man, I'm having a conversation with my childhood best friend. And, I'm sharing with her about, what an autoresponder is and why I'm, what I'm working on right now. And she's telling me about her trip to buy toilets. And, there was a way that I can't relate. I've never bought a toilet. I've never spent a day at Home Depot picking out a toilet, and she's never done an autoresponder. And yet there's something so valuable about those old friendships, those people who know you, your heart, before you had a brand or a message, or colors, or a tagline. And I find that those old friends really can help to keep us grounded. So unless they are what I might call toxic relationships, where there isn't space to speak openly about what's going on in your life, and I think jealousy is natural in relationships and in friendships, but where there isn't even a space to talk about jealousy or disconnection or anything that's coming up for you guys. So if there's just I just don't want you to have that. So unless it's a toxic relationship, I always encourage women, keep fanning the flames on those friendships because they're meaningful. And then there's the group of friends that we're talking about, which are more the colleagues. And that kind of speaks for itself, just the women who kind of are on a similar journey to us in terms of building a business, building a practice, putting a message out into the world. And then the third, if there isn't sort of overlap, is local friends, people who live nearby. I think it means a lot to have people who can walk over to your house or take a short drive over to your house and be there with you. And I can tell you, there's no way I would have gotten through my divorce and breakups and other, difficult things without having those local friends to, snuggle with when things were difficult. But in terms of this colleague group, going back to that one, I think that, there are so many different ways. One is look for a leader that you feel really aligned with. So, I know that with Business Heroine, for example, you're just such, for me, Anne, you're such an aligned leader. I just really get what you stand for. I can feel your heart. And so I can trust that if I feel a connection with you, a sisterly connection, that you're probably going to call in people who I would feel connected with. So that's kind of a great sorting mechanism for people. It's really, look to people who you are inspired by, and then look who they're hanging out with, or look who their tribe is. And those are your people too. And I also think creating those circles can be really valuable as well. I've encouraged, I run a mastermind, but I've spoken to so many women and encouraged them to reach out to other people who they feel just aligned with. And again, I think it's important that we choose people who, not because it feels like a good strategic move, but because it's I just love you as a person and I want to become great friends with you. I want us to be able to talk about, life and business together. So I think friendship always comes first. That's the way that I see it. So looking for people who you feel that alignment around. And then also, and I love this piece, somebody whose message, or people whose message so inspires you that you want to support them in getting that message out into the world. And if you really get the person's heart and what their message is and what they stand for, and really wanting to be a stand, that's going to be a really beautiful, rich friendship. So I think creating it by reaching out to people and creating a structure to meet, and also looking for aligned leaders.
That's so brilliant. And if you don't know where to start, maybe a place to start would be with a mastermind or retreat that's already in place, one of Nisha's retreats that's built-in sisters plus business education and all of it right there.
Yeah.
So cool. So speaking of your retreats, I would love to hear a little bit about your business model and from the space of freedom, because you were, as you said, a workaholic that woke up at 7 a.m. and went to bed at 2 a.m. working nonstop. I've been there too, although not quite that severe, but close. And then you have now this business that is so spacious, that is built around sort of your own rhythms, and we talked about this offline before about the sort of length of time that you have your programs and the space in between for promoting the next one, and you've just sort of honed in on what works for you. I would love to just hear your insights, maybe give us a little sneak peek into what your business model is shaped like, and also knowing that that's not the right fit for everybody. So any insights you have around designing your business or redesigning your business so that it fits you and who you are, so that you can come from a place of, ease, grace, spaciousness, and inner freedom.
Mm-hmm. So my model is basically that I run a 9-month mastermind. It's called the Freedom Mastermind. Things may change, who knows, but this is how it's been going for the last 4 years. So I run this 9-month mastermind, 20 women I invite into that program, and it's beautiful. We go on 3 really luxurious retreats together. I coach them one-on-one, and we do group coaching as well. So gorgeous experience, 9 months long. And those are the only people that I have been for the last couple of years working with one-on-one for the most part. So I've got this 9-month mastermind, and then I have a program that I am launching this year that I did another version of a couple of years ago called Fierce, Fabulous, Free, which is a roughly 8-week online course in living for ambitious women. I'm really excited about that. And then I will have an online community called the Virtual Sisterhood. So And that's it. That's how I've been working with women. I also run an annual retreat with my friend Sarah Jenks called Live Free in Sonoma, California. We're also looking at taking it outside of Sonoma in future years, but that's been really such a joy as well. So there's a lot of space. And yeah, like you said, this model isn't for everyone. Some people don't like one-on-one coaching. Some people, want to be only doing one-on-one coaching. I think that there are different things that work for different people. What I encourage people to do is really look at what is your future vision for your life. If you could really paint a picture, there's actually a great exercise called The Painted Picture, which is the first chapter of Cameron Herold's book, Double Double. You can actually download the first chapter for free if you just Google Double Double the book. So the painted picture exercise is really getting a clear, mapped out vision for your future and what you're living into. And so it's kind of like without knowing where you're headed, it's pretty hard to know where to take the next step or what sort of things to build. So one of the things I like doing is just first starting with what's that bigger vision for yourself. I call it your why for you. And I also like people to look at their why for the world. What's the thing that you stand for in the world? What's the future vision for the world that you stand for? And once you have those 2 things clear, they kind of become like your North Star. And now you can start looking at creating a model based on moving you towards that, cohesive vision of the future. So that's the first step. And from there, I just really love exploring with people. How would you just love to give really creatively from your heart? If you were creating art out of your work, what would just be so enlivening for you that the idea of getting up and doing it every day would be like, pinch me. I can't believe that I'm getting paid to do this work. And, how beautiful if the whole planet was living in such a way that we got to work in a way that felt so aligned for us. So I really encourage people to start by looking at what's my why for the world and what's my why for me, and being really committed to living in the feeling of that right now. And so one of the things that I had to get is, all right, well, my future vision, my why for me does not include a lot of like 2 a.m. dinners and not having a shower each day because I'm like working and I'm still in my pajamas on the couch at, 7 o'clock at night. horrible. And I realized there are some things that I actually have to change about the way that I'm living and working now in order to have me aligned with that. Because the idea that I can keep doing things, let me just get through this lunch and then somehow miraculously I'm going to start getting dressed up every day. No, you actually have to start doing it right away to start living and working in alignment with that right away. And building the model, building the offerings in a way that feels really enlivening to give and serve. And one of the things, I don't talk about this often, but I think that something that we can really learn from the technology world, we live both in the Bay Area, so we're surrounded by tech startups. And one of the things that they do really well is they understand beta testing. And that when you put something out on the market, it's an experiment and you're going to see how it goes and you're going to have to change it. And I think sometimes people do something once and it's really challenging or it doesn't go as planned and they just kind of throw it all out. Instead of iterating, trying something slightly different, noticing what didn't feel good or what didn't work and changing that for next time. And so, the first time I led a retreat, I paid more money to be at my own retreat than anyone who attended. It cost me money to run that retreat. And if I just decided, then I just shouldn't do retreats, I can't imagine what I would be doing now. So I would also encourage people to, be eyes wide open about the decisions that you're making, jump into things when you've really run the numbers, when you've really felt clear in your heart about the gift that you want to give and where it's leading you. But then also get that it's all an experiment. And if it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to the first time, pick yourself up and do differently next time and see what happens.
Brilliant. And sometimes it's just a small little tweak that needs to happen and it all falls in place. And sometimes you learn whoa, that's exactly the opposite of what I want. But regardless, it's really good input. And how can you know until you start? So, yeah. Oh, so wise. Thank you so much, Nisha.
Thank you.
So tell us what is, we've learned about what you offer, and thank you so much for being so transparent about what your business model looks like. Because I think that can just be a mystery to people. It's how does this person make business or do business and make money? And one suggestion I want to offer to the heroines here tuning in is, look at the people who you admire and just kind of poke around on their website and find out what their services are. And, it's kind of, think of it as like a catalog where you get to go shopping for ideas of how you might structure your business. So, so thank you, Nisha, for sharing that with us. And so for those who want to work with you or enter your world, what is the best way that they can start to get more Nisha in their lives?
So at the time that we're recording this, I am so close to launching my new website. Depending on when you look, you'll see the old version or the new version. But it's my name, nishamoodley.com. And it's a wonderland, really, the new website of things to explore. So certainly on the Work With Me page, people can see all the different ways to work with me, including some fun one-on-one stuff that I've decided to create just because there's demand for it. So that'll be popping up very, very quickly, or maybe at the time that people are watching this. Also, I have a poetry book that I would love to offer everyone for free. It's at thefreedomdevotional.com. thefreedomdevotional.com. And then I also have another downloadable workbook called takeflightactionguide.com. And that really helps you get clear on what are the different areas of freedom in your life that you may need some attending to, and how can you rally the resources to do so, and what are your first steps. So it's actually a really practical, tangible guide. And then on the other hand, a super impractical, love letters to your heart from me, the poetry book.
Genius. I love it. I love me some structure. And I also am all about exploring the unknown spaciousness world of feminine energy, the mystery, the electricity. So thank you. That's so perfect. Well, Nisha, thank you so much, first of all, for gracing the cover of Business Heroine magazine and making us look beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing your heart and your business and your wisdom. This was a really priceless interview, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much, Anne. It's been so great to be with you and get to know the Business Heroine community more. I look forward to more and more.
Absolutely. All right. Have fun in Paris, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
And bye, everybody listening. Take care. See you soon.
You have been watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out what's new at businessheroinemagazine.com today.